Hi guys, this is Rob from RuinWorks again, coming to you with our newest release, the Ruins of Birchaven. This is the first release for February 2023. The scene features a ruined village. A few ruined buildings and trees occupy the main portion of the map, and then at the center up here, there is a ruined church and a graveyard. This is another customizable scene with a couple of touches to make it a bit more interesting. So let's just get to it. Up at the top of the scene, you can see there are the controls in the top left here under the yellow control panel. There's a button to switch between day and night. This map actually features a separate night tile for every tile in the scene. So if you click on this, it'll change all the tiles to the night evening tiles and also change the light settings for the scene so that it is darker. So I know it's kind of hard to see right now, so let me drag out a token and you can see what it looks like when there is some light. So as you can see, the alternate tiles do make it feel a bit more nighttime-ish. I think it gives it quite a good evening vibe. However, things are probably easier to look at during the day, so I'm going to go back to the day and we'll see what it looks like there. Okay, first thing to note here is the purple options. These are the grave options. So up in the top left corner, there is an old graveyard, which is covered up. However, I've also added the option to be able to open up 4 different graves. These can be doing simply by pushing the button under the open panel, and then you need to, if you're on the night, you need to select the night button, and if you're in the day, you select the day button. So simply clicking on them will reveal all the different grave options that are available. Second in the margin up here are the church room options. So the church does have 4 rooms, 3 of which are customizable, just to give you some options of how you want to use the Ruins of Birchaven scene. So first of all, for room A, the options include a clandestine meeting place. Perhaps thieves need to get out of the city to discuss territory or make deals or smuggle things into the city. So that's the idea behind this option. The next option is also a dark seance. So perhaps the graves are being robbed and someone is doing something to the bodies inside of the church now. Room B, we have just a regular ruins, or we can change it to cleared, just where somebody has pushed the rubble outside of the room, and then maybe someone's actually living here using the fireplace currently. Room C includes the ruin version that you can see already, as well as having it set up with bedrolls as though someone is living there, and as well as having it cleared where the rubble has been pushed to the sides of the room. You might have noticed that lights and images both turn on and off depending on what you select. Third option over here in the orange control panel is for the statue brazier. So down here to the bottom left of the church, there's a statue, and beside it a brazier at number 6. This is more of an ambiance item than a technical one, so just clicking it allows you to change the brazier to an image of a fire and also activates a light there. This works really well in the nighttime scenes, and I'll show it off a bit later as well. And then lastly, over here in the green, the options for the cellar doors. At the top of the church, there's the option to add a door into the cellar. First one, there can have no door to the cellar, both day and night versions. You can have the door closed or the door open, and that shows the stairs down to the basement. What I probably should have mentioned first is that it does have 4 levels to this scene. So this is the main level, the ground scene. This is where most things will happen. There's also a cellar level, a second floor, which has the bell tower and bell, and then the 4th level, which is just the roof, which you can see there. Let's go back down to the ground level. Tokens on the ground level, if they enter this last room here that I hadn't talked about yet, room D, there are 2 interaction points here. One allows them to pull the bell, plays a little sound just so they can play the bell, and then if they go over to the ladder, you can double click on this interaction point to climb up the ladder. And there they are up there with the church bell now. Okay, so next I will take us down to the cellars and show you just a little tricks of the trade down there. So the entrance to the cellar, main entrance, is through the door that I mentioned earlier. Levels elevation change is enabled. The first room over here just meant to be like an old storage area. So I left these 2 rooms in the cellars more empty so you can do with what you like. What I've done here in the bottom room is just drop in one of my sarcophaguses from my actor's compendium. If you don't want this, you can just click on this token here and delete it, and it will remove all of this little prefab. If you want to use it, Again, you still have these two controls here. The bottom one, which controls the lid. All the different options for the lid. And then the second one, which will control the inside. The interaction on the top point on the top will allow players just to remove the lid of the sarcophagus. Over on the left side of this room, we have a little rotating secret door here. So there's a little control panel below it. If you hit the rotate button, a noise will play, as well as the image will rotate to allow passage through. If you hit it again, it reverses and closes it for you. Now, I've noticed it acts a little wonky sometimes. I'm not sure why it doesn't work every single time. So if something does happen, you hit this reset button, it'll set everything back to the start and it should keep on working. I haven't run into this issue much recently, but when I first put it together, it started acting strangely sometimes. Now, what's behind the secret doors is another set of stairs. This can lead to another scene, perhaps one of my crypt scenes, or one of the scenes from the Ruins of Birchaven series. But if you don't want that and you just want to have a treasure chamber or something else in here, you can just toggle the stairs off and they'll disappear, and you can use the room for whatever you want. Down to the south here, there's another secret door. This will open up entrance to a secret passage which leads to the well that was on the first floor. I'll show you up here. It leads to this well. What I've done on the walls is I've made it so tokens can't move into the well. They'd have to be dragged there by the GM. And once a GM drags them into here, the level's elevation change will send them down to the cellars. When players come back in, they can move themselves into the elevation change and go up to the second floor. And because these are one-way walls, they can then exit to whatever direction they want to. Last main thing I wanted to touch on here was there's this statue outside of the church. You notice there's a little faded rotation button on it. If you click it, it rotates the statue. When the statue rotates here, the secret door in the basement also rotates. You can see here. So when either of them are activated, the other will activate at the same time. The idea behind this is that PCs, the way to access the secret door could be to come to this statue and rotate it, and then it would rotate the secret door. Other than that, I have put in some overhead tiles here for the trees, moving under the tree limbs now. As always, there is the button here to access the notes, so I've given some adventure ideas. I've provided details of the tiles that are included, and I've detailed every area of the ruined church as well. I'm just going to go to the night version quickly here, so you can see what some of these night versions look like. So first thing is I will hit the lit torch, and here you can see the braziers on, provides a bit of ambience. Now if I go to grave 4, I turn that on. You can see the graves show up nicely. So if you go to the clandestine meeting place at night, the dark seance. I think it looks pretty good. And then the other lights in here for the fireplace and the bedrolls also make this more like a living scene to me. So if your PCs are coming in by the old pathway over here, it might look pretty cool to them as they can see the roof and only build the lights underneath. But they can tell something is going on. Anyway guys, that's it for this release. I'll see you at the end of the month. Thanks.